Alright guys, let's see how we can edit simultaneously two branches on two different VS Code editors when we are working in monorepo. So let's suppose that we have a backend branch, and in this backend branch we are just editing our server-side data. That's a very simple server, and I'm trying to make changes on it, and the moment I'm trying to make them, we see that they are reflected, but we are still on the backend branch. If I would like right now to go and make changes on the front end, for example, I'm writing here something, I'm saving, we see that they are also appearing again in this backend branch. How I can make simultaneously changes in the backend and in the front end, or in the main channel here. So for this we'll use worktrees. If I go here on more actions under the repositories, worktrees, and I click on create worktree, we see that we can create a new branch or to create a worktree directly from a chosen branch, for example, from the main branch. If I click on it, we see that the worktree will be created around this main branch. We'll use the default and we'll press enter. Alright, since I'm in WSL, if I open one terminal and go to my attach app, this is the original one, but now we have another folder which is worktrees. If I go to main, which is signifying the name of our worktree that we created, I can start Visual Studio Code from here. And now we have the editor we can work on. And now I can make changes directly to the application. So for example, on the title of the application, and if I save, we'll see that inside of the source control, we're on the main branch and we're working without any problems. We can create commits, which will be reflected directly on the main branch. At the same time, if we would like to change something on the server, we need just to switch to the other opened Visual Studio Code editor, and here we are working on the backend. So this can save you a lot of switching between branches, and it's an useful practical technique for you to know. Like this, if you're asked to work on multiple branches, you just need to create a separate work tree for each of them and enjoy your work. Now that's another use case of using work trees. Let's suppose that we have a colleague which writes some changes and commits them into a file, in this case readme.md, and they do this into the main branch. Alright, so we have the changes here. Now back to Visual Studio Code. So let's imagine that we are still working on our changes and we'll just like to see what our colleague has done without interfering or damaging our work. So I'll go to source control, and here I'll just go to fetch. This will fetch the information from the remotes without merging it with our local files, so we can have the changes offered by our colleague. Then I'm using the Git graph extension, so we see immediately the change. We can click on it and see what has been added by our colleague. Of course, that's very simple. If the changes are in multiple files and we would like to test our colleague's implementation and to validate it or approve a PR, we can just go ahead and with the right click we can copy the commit hash to clipboard. Then we'll use this commit hash to create a work tree. Now when we have the hash of the commit, we'll open up the terminal, and here we can create a folder, let's say review. Now we'll just need to type git worktree add, then we type the folder review, and then we paste the commit hash. If I click on enter, we see that the worktree has been added, and here if I go to the review folder, we have absolutely the same folders as the main one. This means that from this location on I can open up another Visual Studio Code and check all the files that my colleague has written on this commit. On top of this, I can run some tests. When I'm finished with the work, I can remove the work tree and return to my previous tasks. Alright guys, I hope the information is helpful for you. If you have enjoyed it, you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you.